evening. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, WW7ATS. Western Washington Amateur Television Society is a group of amateur radio enthusiasts that take to the airways with fast scan television. We have a repeater located up on Cougar Mountain. We transmit on 70 centimeters. It's a crossband repeater and spits out images at 1.2 gigahertz. To find out more about the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, please Google WW7ATS. That's Google WW7ATS. That will take you to our homepage where you'll see the frequencies that we transmit on. A little bit of background on the organization, and also you'll find a link that will take you to YouTube where we stream our nets held Wednesdays and Saturdays between 8 and 9 o'clock. Also, we'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 with a specific tone of 103.5, again with a specific tone of 103.5 for this net. So with that information out, I'll pause in case anybody has emergency traffic or needs to make a contact on the 08 machine before our net gets fully underway. Again, this is Dave, KD7CYM. Hearing no traffic, welcome to the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. Again, I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Checked in via video link is Bob, K9PQ. Richard, K7ITX. Wade, W7ITL. Jim, N7QO. And myself, Dave, KD7CYM. Does anybody else wish to check in? Well, what you see is what we got, so let's start up with Bob, K9PQ.
Okay, hi guys. Well, barely made it tonight, but I got here, got everything set up just in time. Ron did contact me and let me know that he had plans tonight, so he will be joining. Well, I got out. It was a beautiful sunny morning, and not too bad in the afternoon, but I got out and went down to the locks, and a friend of mine had his car in for service in Ballard, and so I met him down there, and we went down to the locks, and just it's just nice to kind of wander through there. Not a single fish in the fish ladder, not surprisingly, but it's just a nice place to go and wander around. There were a few boats going through the locks, and I actually went a few different places that I hadn't been. There are there's some gardens around there, and terraces, and a few things that I've never actually walked around. And so I had extra time today while he was waiting for his car to be ready, and so we walked around and saw stuff, and had lunch at the lock spot, which I haven't done in a long time too. I had fish and chips at the lock spot. So that was my day. I will send it back to Ned. This is Bob, K9PQ.
PQ, let's go to Richard, K7ITX and Kent.
Yeah, hi everyone. Gosh, what a beautiful morning, especially. I really relished the morning, so, gosh, it was just, I couldn't ask for a better, it's almost like spring, actually. It really was. So I got a couple short videos here. Let's see if I can remember how to do this. Share screen and share. Let's see what we got here. So you heard maybe a little bit of talk about the blue Blue Lagoon. Well, here it is. There's actually a bar in the Blue Lagoon. You could go up and get your favorite libation. So it looks like my friend here is having a beer. So that's pretty cool. I like that idea. And let's see, what else do we got to show you here? Let's see, and then I go over to, and then I get, and then you can actually, this dude went for the actual full spa type treatment that they offer. Oh, by the way, Blue Lagoon is in Iceland, not too far from the volcano situation. So I guess you get some, I don't know what are they doing, putting mud on their face. I don't know. That's not quite for me, but it looks pretty fun. So that's the kind of thing you do over there. And let's see, and then this, I thought this might be kind of interesting to see. So towards the morning, that morning, of course, I gotta have a commercial right now, what else? Okay, let's skip that. Okay, there we go. And, let's see what we got going here. Okay, so knock on the door, was told to evacuate immediately. So evidently, this is what happens if the volcano in Iceland erupts if you're staying at the Blue Lagoon. Kind of exciting if you ask me. As you're coming out of the hotel, right? So I don't know. It'd make me a little nervous, actually, I think. I don't know if I'd want to do it, but anyway, people are doing it, and they're evacuating now. Let's see what else was worth showing. Next shot, we'll see in about 10-15 seconds. So we're at the airport, getting ready to go home during the eruption here. And so view out the window, it's just unbelievable. Here we are at the airport. You can even see one of the airplanes lined up. And oh my God. So another video, just gotta get this business out of the way there we go, okay, good. And then turn that one off. And so this is the sad part of what's going on there, right here. Let's see here, and what do I want? I wanted to put it on 27 seconds, so yeah, let's fire this up. So here it is, going across the road. You might have saw this already on TV news, but it cut off the road to the Blue Lagoon. So you had to get out of there just in the next. And then it ran. Of course, it hit the pipeline, the hot water pipeline to where our relatives live in Keflavik. They're out of hot water now. And the electricity leaves a lot to be desired. there's only enough amperage, I guess, to cover one space heater per household for a minimal amount of time. And the electrical grid is having a hard time handling it. So you can see where the pipeline goes and where the lava went over it. And here they had a fix. Of the lava, going over the pipeline, they put some where they thought they put it underground, and so they fired it up after the lava went over it and fired up the new pipeline, but it only worked for about 4 hours, and then it blew apart. Of course, it blew apart right underneath the deepest part of the lava. So it's just unbelievable now. 10% of the population of Iceland is without heat in below zero temperatures. And the only other thing that caught my eye was, the digital communication, the sharing. Let's see if I can find. Well, let me get my glasses on. This is pretty cool. Or was. God darn it. It disappeared on me. Well, when it comes back my way, I'll read a couple notes from messages from Debbie's cousin. What can I say? They're really in a big. They were depending on that cutoff or bypass. They're depending on that bypass to take care of them, and now I don't know. They have to pipe around it or what? I don't know what they're going to do, but it sure isn't going to be like that. They thought they'd have it, hot water running right about now, and I guess it's going to be a few more days of no heat and hardly, and some electricity can't take the amperage and that's been going out. So anyway, like I say, I'll read a couple notes that I've seen on social media from Debbie's cousin. K7ITX, back to net control.
K7ITX, thanks for that report. Very interesting. And this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net. And from that, we will go down the line to Wade, W7ITL.
Everybody, this is Wade, W7ITL. I think I'm just going to do this round, but I'll just say a few things and say I did get to go to the radio club at Tacoma this morning, and prior to that, me and my wife went out to Costco and got a few things for Super Bowl Sunday. God, I think I should have maybe went to Costco a couple days prior, because it was a rat race. There was so many people there, and it was a little stressful. At the radio club at Tacoma, I did get to meet a few hams that I do like chatting with. I got to chat with Sam, N9MII, and John, K7YRC, the guy that kind of helps out with the TED repeater. And we chat for about 45 minutes and just talked a lot about electronics and retro gaming, and it was real fun. So, and now just hanging out with you guys, and gonna try to do a few things before tomorrow, and do some laundry, and maybe check into the Simplex net, and maybe one of the cousin nets. So, with that said, I did want to comment on Richard's report. I did like That's pretty interesting stuff over there happening in Iceland. Unfortunate for the folks that are impacted by some of the problems they're having with the lava. That's a bummer that 10% of the population is without heat. That's not good in the climate where they're at, being in the low, maybe sub-zero temperatures. So hopefully they can get that fixed up and maybe rerouted to a different place so they can get some more heat. With that said, I think I'm just gonna say 73s, and I might be listening. If not, I'll talk to you guys hopefully Wednesday. W7ITL, back to net.
7ITL, let's go to Jim, N7QO in Covington.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Good evening, everyone. Well, Bob, sounds like you had a good visit with a friend. That's great. Lox, I know you were talking about something else, but it made me think of bagels. I'll have them with double cream cheese, but hold the lox. I'm okay with that. Nevertheless, I have not enjoyed a bagel for a while. Of course, come to think of it, it's before I retired. I used to go to these places, and there used to be some really good places that sold bagels, but I just don't go anywhere anymore. I don't know. I'm going to have to remedy that somehow. Or maybe I could try some frozen brand from the local Fred Meyer or something. I don't know. Costco has some, but you got to eat fast because they're in a large quantity. So it contributed to my my pregnancy. So what can I say? Let's see, Dick. Oh my goodness. Blue Lagoon. The caption, as you showed it, said, "Ends in disaster." Oh, how awful. It's good that no one there got killed or anything. It's nice that they all got out in time, awakened in the night or whatever. I don't know, mud on their faces. I don't know about that. I'm not too keen about that. I exfoliate. I use a blade on my face to exfoliate personally. That seems to do just fine. Thank you very much. Question: who was that handsome fellow that was there? Wow, that I feel for him having to abandon his vacation there right when it looked like he was enjoying himself. And I did observe that the Blue Lagoon does not have Guinness on tap. Oh, tisk, tisk, tisk. It puts it down 1 star in my book for that. What can I say? Let's see, so what did I do today? Oh, my wife and I slept in this morning. I don't know, the last several mornings we were kind of busy, so we got a little bit short on our sleep. Wound up sleeping in and then mostly doing work around the house, trying to get some things squared away. So we're planning to do nothing tomorrow but watch television, essentially. Watch the morning Talking Heads, and then we've got it set to record the Super Bowl and the pre-bowl so that we might catch any exciting commercials that might be there. And we're planning to watch the Super Bowl real time. And then my wife was curious about Taylor's airplane. It looks like she got back to Los Angeles in plenty of time to get to Vegas to get to the bowl. So let's see, another thing, we saw an airplane crash on television. Wow, that was not good. Naples, Florida. Let's see. That's about all I got for right now. Back to you, Dave, N7QO.
N7QO thanks for that. And it's time for a quick ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the ZTAC Repeater Association 147.0E repeater, referred to as the 08 machine. Well, here in Lake City, there was a little sunshine this morning. I went out, captured my mail, and there was a nice, quick, brief walk out to the mailbox and back. It was still pretty chilly out, even with a little sunshine going on. But I noted today is the Chinese New Year's Day, celebration day. So anyway, I thought it was kind of interesting watching the news. It seemed like there was a big event going on in Edmonds. I was surprised. Generally, downtown Chinatown has the big events, but the dragons seem to be up on parade in Edmonds today. So I guess they're spreading out their activities to cover more of the community for the day's festivity. And that's about it. For Bob, boy, no salmon at the locks. So I guess that makes it kind of hard to get bagels and locks at the locks spot for lunch. But outside of that, I'm sure they could import a little salmon for that. But that sounds pretty good. And Richard, boy, the Blue Lagoon, boy, I think that kind of makes the tourist industry a little bit on the lean side. But I did like the mud going on in the Blue Lagoon. I refer to that as muddy waters. So anyway, that was kind of good. But you know, the Germans probably would like that area since that pond, that lagoon is all heated up. They like their beer warm, so I'm sure the beer would be served a little bit on the warm side instead of chilled American-wise. So that was kind of interesting. So that's about it. And this is Dave, KD7CYM. So let's go back up to Bob, K9PQ.
Okay, well, hello again. Yeah, I had no locks at the locks. Sorry to say. No salmon even. Fish and chips was probably, cod. Probably the usual stuff. That's wild video, Richard. And I have to ask, was that the first time it erupted? When's that video from? I would have thought, this has been going on for a long time now. People would be aware of all of this stuff happening, or was this, this recent eruption and things had been okay for a while, so they sort of started the business up again, and then it's happened again. I'm curious about that. But the no heat with below zero temperatures, that is scary stuff. I'm wondering if they're like close to evacuating people from their homes to some other location where they can keep them warm, like happens with tornadoes and things like that, where people can't stay in their home. They send them to a gymnasium or something like that. I wonder if they have a place like that to keep people warm, because that sounds deadly to have people just trying to camp out in their homes like that. Yeah, Wade, that's pretty cool. You found people to talk retro gaming with. I like hearing your projects along that regard. It's pretty cool to see the things you come up with there. And Jim, yeah, what you were talking about going to eat bagels when you used to work, it reminded me, there's a place down in Redmond, at Redmond Town Center, where they serve crepes, and they are really good. And I never had crepes very often, and I didn't go for a long time. When I started working down there, I thought, well, I just thought, they're just like a dessert thing. And they do have dessert crepes, with fruit filling and other things like that. But then they also have crepes with sort of sandwich filling with meat and cheese and different things. So I'm going to get back there. It's been a long time, but man, I really like that. Became a regular lunch place destination for me. The no Guinness. that's a problem. When I went to Ireland, I had Guinness there, and man, it was very nice to get it from the source. It tasted a lot better than the Guinness I used to get here in the States. And then, of course, you can't imagine my relief to know that Taylor Swift made it back to the U.S. in time for the Super Bowl. Oh my goodness, what would we ever do without her being on TV tomorrow? I'll be watching live as well. Normally when I get together with my friends to watch the game, we will delay it, and we will fast forward through the commercials, but of course tomorrow we want to watch the commercials, so we'll be watching live. And Dave, I didn't catch where that Chinese New Year's was being celebrated, the Lunar New Year was being celebrated. It sounded like you said Edmonds, maybe? I don't know if that... Okay, it was Edmonds. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm sure they must do it also down in the International District, but interesting to hear it's at Edmonds as well. Okay, well, that's my turn. I will send it back again. This is K9PQ. Back to Nat.
K9PQ, thanks for that. Well, let's go to Richard, K7ITX.
Okay, well, I'll start off by answering Covington Jim. No, I don't know that nice young man in the video. He's just a travel YouTuber, and so and none of his stuff is monetized. So I whenever people just have junk out there, I don't feel too terrible. In fact, I'm pretty sure they want me to re-show it. So, and then let's see. There's a question about evacuation. Well, okay. So, interesting enough, this eruption. This is the third eruption. First being in December, second in January, and now here's the third one in February. And but this is the first time that it's really affected so many people. The lava erupted in the same exact spot as it did in December, but it was a lot more liquid-like. Almost, it was traveling. What they say, 1,000. What was it? No. 100. Oh, okay, a kilometer an hour, 100 meters a minute. I don't know. It was moving pretty quick and a lot faster, and there seemed to be more volume than the December eruption, and so more volume, more liquidy, caused it to travel a lot further. The barricaded berms, earthen berms that they built around the Blue Lagoon and the power plant were effective. They protected everything. But as far as when this all transpired, and this all happened Wednesday night right after the net. I think I remember even telling everybody that the underground magma chamber was full, and it sure was. So when it wiped out the hot water, that's how they heat their homes. I guess ever since 1975. To knock the pipe out, first they're pretty sure they were able to get the bypass hooked up quickly, and so people were really paranoid, especially people with families with little kids and babies. They were getting kind of paranoid. They wanted answers, when are we going to get our hot water? So I guess they got it about 12 hours later, but then it only hardly lasted at all. So no, they do have places to go. I think a lot of them have, they're all seem to have relatives and families. Icelanders are pretty tight-knit people, and yeah, no, they're not going to let anybody freeze to death. But they do have a pioneer spirit right about now. Let's see. Let me look at this as just an example of what I've been reading on messages from my wife's cousin. We ask residents. Oh, by the way, this is a translation from Icelandic to English, so it's not the most perfect thing. So we ask residents not to charge electric cars at home. Unplug all outdoor lights that do not need to be lit. For example, Christmas lights. Have one electric heater going at a time. Completely minimize electric consumption so we do not lose electric again in town. The grid is definitely, they depend on the hot water, geothermal hot water to heat their homes. And so the power grid isn't really set up for doing everything that everybody wants it to do right at the moment. So, and when that happens, as you can imagine, circuit breakers get thrown and everybody's out of power. Okay, so reading on, we challenge contractors to disconnect new buildings, and in fact, everyone has to work together. Oh, and then regarding light poles and billboards, they're not in the same grid as home, and therefore it is not necessary to turn them off, according to the electrical agency. So, there are just literally hundreds of messages like that twirling around. I've just been really fascinated. And then if you go to YouTube, and just all you have to do is just in the search engine type in Iceland, and you'll be inundated with millions of things to look at. And so I don't know. It might be the middle of next week before 10% of the population gets their heat back. Oh, brother. I think there are going to be thoughts and recriminations for what's going on now with respect to their infrastructure. And they probably want to build another power plant, geothermal plant. They want to get that on the works, and they want to get some other pipelines, alternate measures, because I have a feeling they're talking about this current series of eruptions going on at least, if not more than once a month, and it could run into the next decade or two. So, and this is the main peninsula where the capital is, and then you saw the international airport. So, anyway, I think I've beat this topic with, what do they call it? Beat it like a dead horse with a stick or something. So anyway, but it's extremely interesting, especially when it hits the other side of my family. K7ITX, back to net control.
7ITX, let's go to Jim in 7QO in Covington.
In 7QO, thank you, Dave. Well, Dave, warm beer. Wow. I've been places in Germany that actually had cold beer, but I've heard that as well. They prefer it, or at least some people prefer it more like at room temperature. Yeah, I can't say that I enjoy it that way. Well, but everyone has a different taste. I know a lot of people enjoy cold coffee, but I definitely prefer my coffee hot. Although I can drink tea either hot or cold, so I don't know. And anyway, I digress. Yeah, you know, even in Mexico they serve beer cold. Fortunately. Let's see, Dick. Oh my God. That sounds. Your description of the lava. It sounds like the volcano had diarrhea or something. It's just man, and those pictures, the video. Wow. Amazing. And the electrical grid sounds like combat conditions. I don't know what's going on there. I know there are some cities where I could think right off the top of my head, Juneau, Alaska. They have high voltage lines running out to Juneau, and if the power goes down, and in fact several years ago, not too long ago, within the past 5 years or so, some avalanche took out a couple of the high voltage towers. Well, the city has diesel powered generators as a backup, so they just fire up the generators and went along on their merry way. The only problem with that is when the folks got their electric bill, now there's this humongous fee for diesel fuel. It's like, yikes. And it was really expensive. But they didn't miss a beat without power, you know. So it's an effective backup as an emergency. I don't know what they could do in Iceland, though, because the population is certainly more scattered over there, and the terrain is a little bit, shall we say, inhospitable. And even where it is polite, the terrain is definitely subject to change, and that's their problem now. I feel for them. Telling the public, oh, you don't have to worry about the light poles. I don't know why. It's not like anyone would go off and turn off a switch on a street light, would they? I don't know. I know when I lived in Texas, if they said something, there might be some worry about some of the locals going out and putting out a couple of light bulbs, but I don't know. If they're on a different grid, maybe they should switch over to that grid or something. I don't know. Wherever you live, they have problems, and fortunately, this problem is not frequently occurring. It's just that it's a disaster for the moment, but it could certainly get a whole lot worse. So we'll keep the prayers going for all of Iceland, actually, and for your relatives there as well. 87ZYM and 7QO.
And again, this is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Boy, that Iceland thing looks really disastrous. I feel sorry for the tourist industry there. I'm sure that brings in a lot of bucks to the community year-round, but now it's not looking so good. But I imagine they could bring a cruise line in and house the refugees if that's needed aboard the ships for a while. If they needed emergency housing, that may be the fastest way to get it built up in a hurry for people. Although I don't know what the cost would be to run the generators on the ship 27/24 to keep the ship warm. So that'd be kind of interesting to see the cost overline. And I don't know, like the hotel evacuated, my gosh, just think of the money they lose with the clients having to leave. And you can't book anything because you don't know if you're going to be open or closed. So it's rather sad with that. But life goes on. We seem to survive all of these events, decades after decades of things happening. So all we can do is wish the best for the people there and hope that they'll be okay. Hawaii seems to have survived with all of the problems there with the volcanoes erupting. So anyway, the world will march on. This is Dave, KD7CYM, Lake City. So let's go back up to Bob, K9PQ.
Okay, well, thanks, Dave. Well, I imagine in Hawaii, no one's worrying about keeping warm when the eruption happens. And if you're doing without electricity, maybe your ice maker will stop working and you'll have to drink your drinks at more room temperature. But that just sounds rough up there. I mean, talk about inhospitable conditions. I think the cruise idea is an interesting idea. I think it'd be too expensive, but as an instant housing, that's a pretty interesting idea. Just have it come on into to the port, and everyone can just get on the cruise ship and live there until things are ready to go. It's certainly a original kind of idea. I was thinking the same thing with the light poles. Not so much that somebody would shoot them out, but the switching. There are parts of the world where you wouldn't have to tell people. They would just climb up the pole and they'd find a way to rewire it to get the electricity to come to them. So I think a little ingenuity there, they could have all the power they want. So that one is a head scratcher. I would think that the power company would figure out a way to route the electricity over. I don't understand that one. And then I'm curious, with these eruptions, Richard, you mentioned the first ones were in December. I thought it started much earlier than that. I mean, I know that they have had them in the past, far in the past, but could you tell me, like, when did they have it last before December, and was it really just this last December that this current set started? Somehow in my mind I thought it was several months earlier than that. And I guess that's all I have now, so I'll send it back to that K9PQ.
K9PQ, thanks for that. Well, let's move on down to Richard, K7ITX.
Yeah, Bob, I think you might be thinking of in November, that's when all the activity started. Everything was really quiet until towards the beginning of November is when they started getting 300 earthquakes a day. No, 300 earthquakes an hour. Excuse me. I think that's what shook everybody up. 300 to 400, 500 earthquakes an hour in that general area, and then of course the geologists got involved, and then they started. They had one back in 2021, a lot further east. So it's not like they were totally shocked, but no, they did not expect anything like this, and quite literally, this is, like I've talked about before, this is the two different tectonic plates, the North American and Eurasian, fighting it out. Right, this is the exact spot where this is happening, is where the two plates. Oh, and I guess it's going on under sea too, off the coast. They've monitored some eruptions there. So, but just for the fun of it, let's see. So yeah, for sure, they've got diesel generators running in certain other parts of the country. It's just that where this outage is right now, they're really not set up for it. But other more remote areas, diesel generators are kind of a common thing. It's just, they just totally weren't thinking ahead about losing this pipe to a lava flow. It just wasn't part of their, well, the system, I mean, this is historic. This is the worst thing. This is the biggest threat to the country of Iceland as before or after it became a country. So I don't know how long Iceland's been a country, but I'm sure it's been for, several hundred years, and this is historic for them. So, and so as far as losing money at the Blue Lagoon, so my little friend did talk about what his fee was. He was paying probably a little over $600 a night for his very minimal room. He paid $60 for a sandwich for lunch, and $200 for an entree for dinner. So, and I guess $600 is one of the cheaper rooms. You couldn't get a room with a view of the lagoon, but views or suites with lagoon views and mountain views, they can run up to as high as $5,000 a night. So yeah, they are losing their you-know-what right now. I mean, this is a big deal. This is why it was opened. It was closed for December and January. They did have it closed quite a bit, but finally they just couldn't take the heat anymore of the place being closed, and now I can see why. So anyway, yeah, we'll see how it all goes. Especially if it just keeps doing this. You can see the magma chamber already is filling up again, and they can see this as they have monitors on the surface of the ground. It's rising again, right in the chamber, right where the chamber is. And the thing is right now, what they believe has happened is the molten rock straight from the mantle has found a few passageways now that maybe didn't exist before. And as long as they can, keep finding a route to this magma chamber, it'll keep happening until finally maybe there's just enough eruptions or something goes haywire to where the magma solidifies and it gets plugged up and the chamber is free of magma but right now it fills up and pops out, fills up and pops out, and so they're already getting ready for the next one, because this third one that happened right, Wednesday night, early Thursday morning in Iceland. Well, it's already, pretty much over with, and so now they're just, they see like I say, the magma chamber's refilling, and they're just going to have to get ready for the next one, and who knows? That's the thing. They never know where it's going to pop loose. And if it could pop loose at the Blue Lagoon, inside the sheltered berm area, or Grindavik, that fishing town, which, oh, by the way, the government has decided they're going to buy everybody out. Everybody that has property in Grindavik is going to get bought out. Now, whether or not they agree with the price, that's going to be who knows, you know. But yeah, no one can live there. The next eruption could be, you know, the crevices and cracks are going right through the city. So, and no one's living there right now anyway. So, and we'll see how long the Blue Lagoon stays open. But for those kind of prices, and you could honestly tell, people were at risk, it looked like to me. You know, so one thing you didn't hear. I was evacuating down the hallway and out the front door. It sounded, they had those sirens like, you know, World War II bombing of London. Those kind of sirens were going off. It sounded pretty scary with that as your background noise. Jeez. So anyway, I guess, God, I can't believe it. Time is flying, but for me, this is an interesting topic. K7ITX, and I guess I'm going to say 7 and 3. May or may not get back to me. K7ITX, back to net control.
ITX. Thanks for the background on what's going on up in Iceland. And time for another ID. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society net on the 08 machine. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. Well, let's go to Jim, N7QO.
N7QO, thank you, Dave. Yeah, Dick, thanks for the pictures and thanks for keeping us up to date on that. That is information which I have not seen on the television. I haven't seen anything about Iceland for a couple of days now. Wow, I had no idea the prices were that outrageous at the Blue Lagoon there. Prices like that, I don't know. I've never been there, and now I don't ever need to go there. Holy cow! It looks. I was thinking as we're looking at the pictures, that looks really nice. And then I'm looking for faults. Okay, there's no Guinness and probably something else. But wow, the prices are more than enough by themselves to keep me from going there. What can I say? I don't know, if especially as a retired person on a fixed income, you've got to mind your pennies here and there. You can't have too many extravagant hobbies. You know, like in ham radio, you got to have all your radios paid for before you retire, and all this sort of thing. Having said that, I am going to have to replace my 1992 car before too many more years goes by. But I better do it before too long, because otherwise it's going to have to be an all-electric car, and that opens another can of worms. They told us this past summer, don't charge your cars during the day, only charge it at night, and I think our grid here is not ready for that as of yet. So I don't know. And if you want to go any distance, I'll bet it's just a matter of time before they come out with some batteries that can charge more quickly. But will it be 5 years? Will it be 10 years? I don't know if I'll still be around by the time they come out. But we'll see what happens. Okay. An electric, don't get excited, Dave. Electric cars are fine for many things. Honestly, for like 90% of what I would do now, I wouldn't go with like a Leaf, but I really like the idea of a Chevy Volt, where it only gives you 35 or 40 miles to drive on electric. But that would do most everything that I want to do. But once the battery runs dead, just start the engine and just keep on trucking. I kind of like that idea, and I think that's really what would be a whole lot more appropriate for us, at least for a couple of decades. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. Don't know what I'm going to replace my current vehicle with, but time will tell. I don't know. Back to you, Dave, N7QO. It sounds like you wanted to say something there.
Hi, N7QO. This is Dave, KD7ZYM. Yes, electric vehicles. The greatest problem is if you want a Tesla, be prepared to pay $4,000 to $5,000 a year for insurance for the vehicle. So it's ironic because everything is sort of seamed together. So if you get a crunch in the side of the car, they got to replace half of the side of the car. They just can't replace a fender. And then finding technicians that can do it is there's a big vacant spot. And then when it comes to these charging stations, you think gasoline's expensive. Some of these places are charging $25 to $35 just for a 25-minute plug-in and charge your vehicle for what you can get out of that. So you might be expending $50 very easily to charge up your car on a long trip. But the good news is some of the new batteries will take you up to 250 to maybe 300 miles between charges. So it's probably going to be compatible to gasoline prices for travel. But that's going to be interesting. The whole electric market has sort of slowed down lately because the infrastructure of this electrical system to charge cars everywhere just doesn't exist at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see how that filters out. So better for your buck is to have a gasoline-powered car at this point, I think, at least for the next 10 years, until the electric thing gets figured out, and who's going to produce the batteries and battery improvements and see what's going to be going. I don't know, I just feel good. I was a pioneer. I've been on it for 10 years now, and for me it's worked out very fine, even though I have a 110-mile range on a charge that I charge at home. But that takes care for the city traveling is pretty good. I've rented a car a couple of times to go further, a gasoline car to go on a vacation trip. But outside of that, it's been very economical to run, except for the insurance, which is about double what is even for the car I've got than a gasoline-powered car. So with that, we can go back up to Bob, K9PQ.
Checking to make sure I had my picture up there. Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Jim, in that I like the idea of the electric, but I want some kind of backup. And the generic name for that is plug-in hybrid, and that's something I think would be good to have. It's something I've looked at as a possible replacement. And yeah, my 4Runners get kind of long in the tooth, but it keeps on running. So I'm going to keep going with it as long as it's not giving me problems. It is kind of thirsty though. So you know, for around town it'd be nice. At one time I looked into getting a Leaf. And then COVID happened, and the prices shot up, and that was the end of that. So I don't know if that's in the cards for me, but probably at some point I'm just going to have to replace the 4Runner. That was going to be a second car for me to have a Leaf for just around town and not have to spend so much on gas. Yeah, the Tesla I have seen. Oh, we're nearly out of time. Okay, I did see a video on a Tesla where they had a very minor accident, and it wasn't so much the cost, you know, it was expensive to fix, but it took months, and they had to go in, get it diagnosed, and then they had to fix first thing they found, they had to fix it, and then as they were going in to fix that, they found more things, and so they had to go back several times to get the thing. It was months before they got back on the road again. Okay, I'll send it back to Net. This is K9PQ. Good night, everybody.
we got 73 time going on here. This is the Western Washington Amateur Television Society Net. I'm Dave, KD7CYM. I'd like to thank the SeaTac Repeater Association for letting us use WW7STR's repeater 147.08 for our voice transmissions for our net. So on behalf of the Western Washington Amateur Television Society, this is Dave, KD7CYM, signing off the net at 9 o'clock. Good evening all.